you are from Kent McClendon's Hardware, and I think you brought the whole store with you. What is all
feels like
this?
There's a couple things here, isn't there? And it's stuff to think about for as we go into the fall and into the winter. Beginning over towards your left on things that we can do early in the season before it really gets into the cold weather. There's some things you need to do to prep your house. And as we start heading inside, there's a lot of things that we need to do, just general maintenance of your home that we need to actually take care of. Couple things, as it gets into the colder weather, one of the worst case scenarios you can have is to always have a faucet cover over your house, over your outside faucets. And the reason for that is that cold air is going to hit that faucet, and that's where you're going to end up with a lot of cracks coming back up through the line as the water freezes inside. So having that on insulates the outdoor faucet from the cold weather.
This looks a lot easier than the old style
so
ones
simple.
I have that are falling apart that you had to screw and screw and screw.
It's so simple. This slides right over the faucet handle. You pull it, and when you pull this, it has a little zip tie on the end of it, and it locks in place.
Much easier.
It's so much simpler. A couple other things. On the outside of your home, things to think about, there is your gutters. First things first is to clean them out. There's several ways of doing it. You can either use that, which you don't have to put your hands down in the filth and the yuck of your gutters, but it also gets down in there. The second thing, an even easier way to do it, is to use an actual gutter cleaner, which attaches to your garden hose, and then you slide it down along the gutter, and it actually brushes it out. So very simple way to do it. You will get wet. I'm going to tell you to wear a raincoat, but that's basically something you have to think about. In addition to that, those of us who live in areas where we tend to be in areas where we get some water runoff or water buildup in our basements, coating the outside or the inside of your basement with dry lock. And what that basically is you apply it to the inside of your cinder block down in your basement, and that will prevent water from entering into your home.
So you can apply it on the inside?
Inside, correct. And so you're not outside or doing it at all, you're in the inside. It will actually it'll actually create a barrier that won't allow water to seep through. The other thing, speaking of the pipes and the outdoors, is we want to make sure that you do, if you have rodents or anything else like that, or something that has maybe eaten away at the insulation of your pipes, especially with copper pipes, you want to make sure that you're able to put them into an insulating tube. The copper will freeze. That's not a good thing. That's where you end up with breaks and you end up with water as everything thaws out.
And so this just wraps around the pipe?
Wraps right around it. This yellow strip will come off. There's glue inside of it. It's a pretty simple process to do. Save you a lot of headache in the long run. In addition to that, we're looking at your car. Before we head into the house, there's a couple things you want to make sure of. Number one of the hardest things that you'll know as you're driving is trying to see out of those windshield washers. This will actually clean your windshield. It also goes to a negative 30 degrees. So in the event that it's very cold out, this will still stay fluid and allow your windshield wipers to work. Second thing is those of us who have RVs, that has to be run through your plumbing system in the RV to prevent it from freezing over the course of the winter and cracking the pipes inside. It's basically just an Arctic band. It's an antifreeze that goes into your plumbing system of your RV. Couple things more. As we go inside, as we know, we're going inside a lot more than we were before. We do a lot of things inside. We have a lot of heat running, a lot of candles, Christmas lights and the like. Make sure that it's time as we go into the inside, or when we change over, spring forward and fall back, we change our clocks, change the batteries in your smoke alarm. Just a good idea to do it. Also, take a look at your fire extinguisher and make sure it's, in fact, still, there's generally a gauge on it.
Yes.
Make sure it's still in the green.
I just checked mine yesterday and it's no longer in the green.
No, you want to replace that. A $12,
so you can't
$13.
recharge it. You got to buy a new one.
Get a new one. $13 investment over the course of,
Sure.
as opposed to losing a life is a very small price to pay. Coming inside, we want to make sure that we insulate our windows. Any areas where you're going to see drafts, like around the window, around the doors, small insulation. The other part would be where you see a lot of drafts is down underneath doors. This is a very simple device you can install on the bottom side of the door. You can close it and it'll seal off any drafts that you see coming in over time. So now we've seen a little bit of things, very easy things that you can do as a homeowner. Now we have to think about what happens when that real ugly storm comes and the power goes out and everything else. Well, there's some things that you can do. It's never a convenient thing. We're used to our internet, we're used to our phones and everything else, or we're used to our TV. That's going to go away. But there are things that we can get through, make or purchase or have on hand where we can get through that in a little bit more comfortable fashion. First things first, we want to have a source of light. Typically, you can use a nice roundabout light that will actually throw off light in very different areas.
I love the battery operated lights because you don't have to fool with the kerosene,
Correct.
the oil.
Yep. There are emergency candles. Obviously, they're a little bit more dangerous because you're actually dealing with an open flame. For little ones around the house, one of the nice things to have, especially if they're sleeping in their own room, just break a light stick open and it'll give them a night light if they're used to sleeping with a night light. They're also great for...
Oh, and it lasts 12 hours.
12 hours.
But once it's broken, it's 12
use
hours.
It's 12
yes.
hours and that's it.
I know,
that's exactly
I tried
right.
to shake mine from...
It will not work. So once we have our basic light, that's going to be the first thing that's going to be inconvenient. Second thing is going to get cold, especially if we have an electric furnace. One of the nice things, you can either use fire logs, obviously if you have a fireplace. If you don't, which a lot of people don't, even in apartment houses, townhouses, an indoor propane heater, indoor kerosene heater. They're both safe inside as long as you have some source of oxygen flowing in.
That means a draft.
A little bit of a draft, but this will far outweigh the cold air coming in.
Okay.
The other nice thing about the propane style is it has a sensor in it. If the carbon monoxide raises too high, it will shut down automatically. So it's a very neat feature. That'll heat about a 10 by 10 room. So if you can blanket that off, stay in one room, you'll stay realistically pretty warm. Couple other things. In the event that we ever have an earthquake or a severe power outage, and the city of Kent or someone else says, if you can, shut off your gas, shut off your water. This is a good tool to have. You've got basically a water shut-off valve here. You also have a gas line shut off in the event that we've had an earthquake. So it's something that you can purchase at any hardware store. It's good to have in the event that you have a disaster like that.
Yeah, I'm going to play on that one because not everybody knows where their water or gas valve shut-offs are.
Correct.
We just ran into that at my mom's place when doing some simple plumbing turned into a flood.
Yes.
So know where it is, and then as you just said, have a tool so you can turn it off.
You can shut it off in the event that you need to.
Yes.
Yeah. You won't need to generally, but it is going to come to a time that you might. Another thing that you're going to want to take a look at is, obviously you have humans, you have needs. Water is going to be, I brought a small one, but typically a gallon per person per day if the water gets shut off. Especially if you're getting into a very cold environment, the water's not flowing through your pipes any longer. It's a good idea to have a gallon per water per day. The other thing, I brought a couple of snacks along, but food, canned foods, chilies, something that gives you a lot of energy, things that aren't going to spoil, that can stay in a small kit so that when that power goes out, you're going to be okay. Now speaking of that, some very simple things that we can do. A magic stove. They don't cost a whole heck of a lot.
Magic, magic.
Magic. Essentially all they are is there is a pellet of fuel. It's a liquid. It's basically the same thing you see under burners at a
like a banquet. If you have...
Exactly. This fits on top. Now I can probably do this by myself if I'm not on TV. There we go. We'll figure it out.
Well, no, that's not going to work either. I got it upside down. Put that one down.
Okay. We'll do it that way.
There you go. Now, this way.
There we are.
Together.
That goes down. Pot will sit on top of that,
Yep.
and you can cook your chili or your coffee. And it's amazing what a little bit of warm liquid in a body will do to raise the spirits.
How long will that last?
3 hours.
3 hours.
3 hours burning consistently.
Okay.
Another thing to have with you is a radio of some sort. You need to listen to weather reports. You need to listen to the news. Como is a great source. That is actually a hand crank radio and a flashlight.
And it's solar powered.
And it's solar powered if you need it as well. So the problem is it's probably going to be dark. But at the same time,
But if you have it powered ahead of time,
if you do,
right?
that's exactly right. The nice thing is it will crank up by itself, and it'll give you about an hour's worth of power.
My husband and I have actually used one that way.
A couple things to remember. You won't have typically running water. You won't have a good clean source of, for example, a dishwasher. So it's probably not a bad idea to have paper plates, utensils, paper towels, just to make it more convenient. Another thing, I'm not going to say it, but essentially you want to make sure that you have a supply of toilet paper on hand. Nature's miracle, you don't know how long this is going to be and whether the stores are going to be open or not. Good idea to have a first aid kit. Little cuts and bruises, people are walking through a dark home, people are outside working underneath the house, on the car, putting chains on. Good idea to have a first aid kit. The utility tool of all utility tools,
The
duct
magic
tape.
tape, yeah.
You can seal up small water leaks. You can do a lot of things with duct tape because it's very strong, it's very adherent. So there's just a few things here that you can make your stay in the dark a little bit more pleasant. I would recommend, especially if you've been in a flooding area, to carry hand sanitizer, because again, you may not have running water. Or the other option is if you have had a flood of some sort, you want to have bleach on hand, because you would want to disinfect your walls at the conclusion.
At the conclusion.
Right,
Ooh.
after the flood's over. So there's a lot of things to think about. You can, obviously I'm touching just on a few items.
This is one during another
Lock
show
de-icer.
that we did. This
Yep.
is the lock de-icer.
Correct.
Instead of don't use hair dryers
No,
or hot
no.
water, because you'll make it worse.
Just that little, the red cap comes off, it goes right into the lock and you spray it, and it works fantastic.
Is this the graphite one?
That is actually an alcohol base.
This is the alcohol-based one. Okay.
Correct.
Wow. Well, this is great, Ray. Thank you for bringing
Oh, thank you for
McClendon's
having us.
Hardware right down to everybody's home here in Kent.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.